Hey, it's Allie Edwards, and I'm here today with another project using the Scrapbook kit, our quarterly Scrapbook kit, for some pieces of that, as the jumping off point for my storytelling. Today I am telling a story about Simon and Aaron and I jumping into role-playing games. And I actually shared this on my Instagram feed, I think last week, depending on when you're watching this. And I took time to write that whole story up. Actually, I wrote it up right after we had finished playing a game because I had a lot of thoughts and things that I wanted to get out about it and about the experience of playing it. It's a Star Wars role-playing game. I've never done it before. Aaron hasn't either. Simon hasn't either. So it's all of our first time, and we're all being beginners. And it's I'm enjoying it significantly more than I anticipated that I would. So what I wanted to do today was to create a project that incorporates the journaling that I did, that I shared on Instagram, and I want to turn that into essentially a flip out page that is paired here with my photo. And then I'm going to incorporate a couple of the patterns. You can see I've been testing this out, I've done a variety of prints so far. I'm printing these on Epson matte presentation paper, which is the heavier weight, so it's like the ultra premium one. I'll link that for you guys below. Testing out kind of color combinations. Some of them just had misprints, or what I wanted to do, and the way that I set it up is that I wanted to be able to fold it over, and then I'm going to use one of the vellum circles on top of a second photo here that's going to go just like this. It'll be sitting on top of there. This is going to be where the holes will be punched, and then this will open up. And when I set this up in on my computer program, I was using Illustrator for this, then I'll be able to have a second picture right here, and I'll be able to have a title, and I think I'm going to use one of the pattern papers right there, and then another one of the pattern papers on the outside. So this is a good example of one where I did a lot of work before I came on to the video here in terms of setting this up. This is on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that's going to get trimmed down to 8.25 tall by 11 inches wide, and it folds right over with a little bit of the color going over onto the other side, but that did not bother me in the least. So my plan as I am approaching this is that I think I'm going to use a portion of this paper on the outside. So that's how this will end up sitting, like this. Let's say it's kind of going to be somewhat like this, unless I decide I don't like the green and the orange together. I'm not sure yet. We got to figure out what I think about that, but have a portion of this on the outside, and then maybe a portion of this one here on the inside, with like one of these other vellum pieces, and maybe a small title on there is what I am thinking about here. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in and start trimming this. I think I'm fine with those colors there. This was part of what I was dealing with over here, was with the blue and the orange and the kind of moving things around and trying to decide what I wanted to see there, but I think that will end up being fine. All right, so this one's definitely another example where I spent some time before I got on here to set up my journaling, right? I created these blocks in Photoshop. The measurements here are 11 inches wide by 8.25 tall. I went ahead and printed that on my Epson 15,000 printer using the borderless option. And then what I'm doing here is I'm lining it up with the photo, which is 7 inches wide by 8.25 tall, and I'm folding it so that it is folded at 7 inches. So I knew that I wanted to have a flap or an opening here, right? Again, this is part of the benefit of working outside of the page protectors and being able to have some of these interactive sort of elements. And another thing that this does is it gives me an opportunity to incorporate a pattern paper. And so I really loved that too. So it's always this, especially when you have a project that includes a lot of words, it's trying to figure out how can I get all of these words that I want to include about this story into this particular project. And I think working outside of the page protectors gives us lots of different options for that. So my plan here, and what I'm playing around with, is the idea is I'm going to take that Bring On the Stories, that big pattern paper, and it's going to get cut or adhered and then cut right on the flap portion there. And then it's going to have one of those 3-inch circle punched photos with the currently plastic, actually not plastic, vellum piece on top. And that's going to be on the outside, and then on the back side will be the other photo. So again, using red line tape because that's what I have here in the office right now. And this is going to be the home for that black pattern paper. That pattern paper, when I first created that, a long time ago, or not a long time ago, but many months ago now, when I was working on this rainbow kit, I loved that pattern so much. I actually have it hanging here in my office behind me. It just is a good, I don't know, it feels like it's a good representation of what I do, right? And I really like that too. And I just love the black with the white on it, the white writing on it, and then the color coming from the rainbow. So went ahead and adhered that on the top. I'm going to trim off the other edge there, and then that is able to open up, just doing a little bit of extra trimming there. There's always a little bit more to trim off. Then I'm taking that currently vellum circle, and I'm going to staple that on top of one of the photos that I took. These are just some of the random extra photos from a different angle, right? This one was actually kind of top down, so I like that you can see it through the currently, or see it enough. And then on the other side is a photo that includes all three of us, rather than, or compared to the photo of Simon and Aaron, the big enlarged photo there. Next, I was deciding which pattern I wanted to place into that location there. Again, I knew when I was setting this up in Photoshop that I was going to want to have a spot for some more patterns. And so leaving that spot blank gave me a opportunity to have a home or home for a pattern paper there. And so I decided to use the grid, or this diagonal grid, from one of the 12 by 12 pattern papers. And so I'm just going to add some red line tape on here, and then I'm going to adhere that down and then cut it off, or cut it afterwards. So I didn't have to measure like, what is the size of this square? I like to just go ahead and adhere it down on there. You can also see there that when I set this, my journaling, my grid-based page there, when I set that up in Photoshop, I did leave a portion of a circle, or the white part there. I wanted to have a little bit of a border around the circle, which is why, or around the circle photo, which is why I did that. And then I just did forced returns for the journaling there to have that go around the shape of the circle. So the text in that yellow box is flowing around the circle, and then it is able to have room still for the photo. And I'll do a video. I think that was one of the questions that somebody asked at some point recently of I can do a video that's like both flowing text inside of a circle as well as doing it around the outside of a circle. That's something that I could do as well. So I'll put that on my list for a future video. You can see now I'm just bringing it back onto my trimmer to trim off the extra of the pattern paper that's going to be on the inside of the flap. And at this point in the process, I didn't know what else I was going to put on there in terms of, was I going to have a title on there? Was it going to say role-playing something, or role-playing game, or RPG, or I wasn't sure yet. And so what you're going to see in a minute here is me going through the process of figuring out what can I put on top of that pattern paper there that helps support the story that I'm telling here. What other embellishments, either from this rainbow scrapbook kit or from my stash, what other things could go on there? And one of the things that I really had fun with this week as I've been working on these projects is not only using things from the rainbow scrapbook kit, but also from pulling things from my stash. That's been a fun piece of this process. So you're going to see more about that in a minute. Again, using red line tape just to adhere the photo with the vellum currently circle on top, and that's going to go right on top of the other circle that's on the other side there. So 3-inch circles. For those ones, what I usually do is I crop them in Photoshop to 3 by 3 first, and then I take it over to my table and I use a 3-inch circle punch to punch that out. Obviously, depending on what size circle punches you have, you might want to do something a little bit different. You could also use that currently vellum piece there, that embellishment. You could use that as a guide to cut your photo into a circle if you didn't have a circle punch. So now I'm looking a little bit at like, what do I want to add on the outside? But the other thing that I noticed that I got super excited about was the small plastic rainbow, the smallest piece of the plastic rainbow. fits right around this 3-inch photo. So right now what I'm doing is I'm adding some more of those mini glue dots. If you watched some of my previous Rainbow Scrapbook Kit videos, I used some of these mini glue dots on there, and that's going to go right around my circle. This was not planned. This was a happy accident. This is one of those things where as you're beginning to build your project and you're looking at the things that you might have either from the scrapbook kit or other things in your collection of stuff, you might encounter something like this where you are feeling like I did, where I was really excited. Next, I was pulling, these are perforated strips, gold foil perforated strips that are from the Awesome Story Kit, which is, if you're watching this in real time when this is going live, the Awesome Story Kit is our current story kit. So that's available if you want to subscribe to that as well. So this is one of the pieces from that one there. And I'm just trimming it using some small scissors, trimming it so that it follows the edge of the circle there, the edge of that vellum circle. So next I'm coming and I'm opening it up on the inside, and I wasn't sure what sort of embellishing I wanted to do in the inside part. But as I was started to look through some of my circles, you can see I pulled out one of my boxes from my stash there. It's got a bunch of different circle embellishments, but I also laid out some of the wood veneer rainbows on there, and I felt like those were a perfect thing to add on there. They fit just right, and it does what I did in a couple of the other projects that I've done where I am creating a visual triangle with 3 different embellishments. So being able to spread that from my photo page over onto the page with the journaling. So pulling out, you can see I've pulled out a bunch of different circle embellishments. Again, I like storing those all together because I usually know if I want a circle. I also pulled out one of these houses. You might have these in your stash too. The colors on those are really fun and go great with the Rainbow Scrapbook Kit. So if you're looking for something else, a jumping off point, you might want to grab one of those as well. I don't end up using that here, but it was something that excuse me, I entertained as an idea. I'm also pulling, I think from the circle scrapbook kit, there were some chipboard circles and I laid those on top. They will fit on top as a frame on the 3-inch circle if you're looking for something like that. So then I pulled out a bunch of half circle shapes and I was like, could this fit on here? And could this fit on here? And this is what I do a lot. A lot of the times when I'm putting together a project like this, I'm looking through the things that I have and I'm thinking, okay, does this fit? Does this support the story? Is this the way that I want this to look? What kinds of things make the most sense? And I liked the half circle idea because I was using the rainbows, which essentially are half circles, right? So I was kind of looking to see if I had something that would work with that. In the end, I end up pulling out one of these paper circles. It's a paper die cut. It says "So Much Fun," which was perfect for the story that I was telling. And then I'm going to add on that puffy together sticker. I can't remember which kit that is from. It was either an add-on or a kit. A little bit of my video got caught off here, but what I'm doing with these wood veneer rainbows is I'm adding a clear word phrase sticker. Again, these are from the a past one little word one. I used these on the rainbow project number 1 that I did. So what I'm adding onto each one of those is the word phrase sticker, and then I put a little gold star on top of them as well. So adding a little bit onto the embellishments was a fun. I just like how that looked, excuse me. And then I ended up adding on a chipboard heart, a gold chipboard heart, and also added one of the word phrase stickers on there. Like I said, those clear word phrase stickers are so great. Using red line tape to adhere the rainbows down on there. I really like how those turned out too. I used a glue pen for, I think that those are like, the little stars maybe were from a confetti pack a long time ago. There's something that I've had in my stash for a long time and I pull out every now and again. I find them especially great for adding on top of another embellishment. And you can see sometimes they get a little sticky too. They like to stick to things. I think on one of the pictures that I took of this project, that one of the stars was like sticking onto the circle photo. But that works too. So then I'm going to go ahead and adhere that chipboard heart on there and get this other rainbow adhered down. I really like how this one turned out. I loved that I took time on a different day to write up the journaling, right? That was something that I did on Instagram. And then I was able to copy and paste the journaling to flow it into this project. So again, that idea of that we don't always have to sit down and do all of it all at once, that we can use Instagram or a blog or even just a notes Notes app as a holding place for your stories. And then when you are ready to actually scrapbook them or to play around with the supplies that you might have at home, then you can do that as well. The other thing I did is I added the rolling date stamp right onto that pleather together sticker. I love how that turned out too. That was something that I should do more of in the future. All right, let me know if you guys have questions on this one, and we'll see you back here again soon.